What's up, guys? This is a live Q&A and tutorial. What's up, everyone? Let me get everything set up. What's up? What's up? Let me go live on Instagram and everywhere. All right. What is up, guys? This is a live Blender Q&A and tutorial. We are live on YouTube, Instagram, Twitch, and Kick. Again, the best place to be is on Zoom. You'll be able to see in full screen and ask questions. I didn't even have headset plugged in. No idea what you said. Okay. Well, I guess I just talked to myself. What's up, guys? Welcome to the Blender Mania land. This is a live Q&A and tutorial. So if you have any questions regarding anything in Blender, you could ask it tonight and we will do a live tutorial. I think the tutorial we're going to do is going to be on drivers and custom properties, as that is pretty cool. So welcome, guys. Hope everyone has been doing good and having fun doing Blender. What's up, everyone? Again, we do this every single weeknight, same time, same place. Games for Life says hi. What's up, brother? How are you? Again, guys, if you have any questions regarding anything in Blender, you could ask it tonight. There are no stupid questions, by the way. I know there's a lot of new people here, so if your question is simple, that is totally fine. So again, if you have any questions regarding geometry nodes, shader nodes, I'm going to school. Bye, Elo. See you, Goku. 17. Have a good time at school, brother. All right, so if anyone has any questions regarding anything in Blender, again, you could ask it tonight. Games for Life. I'm doing good, brother. How are you? How are you, man? You been blending? What have you been working on in Blender? All right, so does anyone have any questions regarding anything in Blender? Again, I'm going to take questions for half an hour, and then I'm going to do a live tutorial for half an hour. But yeah, Games, I'm doing good, brother. I'm just re-recording the A to Z course so that it's updated for Blender 4.2 and above. And other than that, doing good, man. Doing good. We just had BlendCon in LA this past week, which was a lot of fun. I don't know if anyone was there, but yeah, it was pretty fun. All right. I'm just starting Blender. Oh, awesome, man. How long have you been doing it for? A radial array in geometry nodes, Growl asks. Sure, we could do that. How long you been doing Blender for, my friend? All right. So Growl asks for a kind of like radial array with geometry nodes. I mean, honestly, you could do a radial array pretty simple by just having a curve and then some points on it, or a spherical array. I'm not sure what you mean by spherical array, but let's start with the radial array. But I don't learn anything. 3 year, but I don't learn anything. Games for Life. Hey, Games for Life. If you have a question, you could ask it tonight, and hopefully you'll learn something. So let's start with the first thing. Growl is asking how to do a radial array with geometry nodes. So to do a radial array or a kind of spherical array, we could just go over here. Again, we're going to go to the geometry nodes tab, and I'm going to add a new geometry nodes. Again, guys, this is going to be very simple. So if you want to follow along, go for it. So here, obviously, we need our circle. When you usually do a spherical or circular array, normally you get a Bezier circle or a curved circle and an array, and you array those around the circle. But here we could simply hit Shift-A, add a curved circle right here, and just drop that in right there. And then we could get an instance on points, and drop it after. And then whatever object you want to array around in a circle, just plug it into the instance. So for example, here, if we have a Suzanne, so we could have Suzanne Monkey. I'm going to move her to the side, go back to my cube, and I'm just drag in from the outliner. I'm going to left click and drag Suzanne in and plug Suzanne into the instance right there. And then I'm going to bring the scale down like so. And maybe I could also bring the radius of the circle up and bring the scale of the Suzanne up a little bit. And then I could adjust the resolution right here, just like so. So now you can see that we have an array of Suzannes. Pretty sweet. However, let's say we want all of these to face inwards, because right now they're all facing the same way. They're all facing south, I guess, if there was a north, east, and west in Blender. What's up, Ab? So, but I don't learn. Okay, thank you. Games for Life says anytime. What's up, Wisdom? By the way, guys, feel free to join in the Zoom. That's where you'll be able to see in full screen and have a better viewing experience. So right here we have an arrayed circle. However, again, they're all facing the same way, which obviously we don't really want. We want them to be facing along the circle. So right here, from the rotation, we're going to get an align Euler to vector. Now, this might sound complicated, but an Euler is basically a rotation. So it's going to align the rotation to the vector. Again, a vector is a point in space. So right here, we're going to align it based off of the normal. So out of the vector, I'm going to get a normal node right here. And now you can see that we have Suzanne aligned with the normals of the vertices of the curve. Now right here, I could change the pivot and or the axis right here. So right here, I could put the y-axis for the axis and the pivot to z. And now you can see that all the Suzannes are pointing in the circle, kind of like a cult. This looks very culty. So you can see what that's giving us. And the reason for this, again, a normal. A normal is the direction that a face, edge, or vertex is pointing in. So you can see right here we have our curve, and the normals of the curve, again, is the direction. Let me get my arrow. Again, is the direction that these vertices are pointing in. So here we're able to basically get that information. For example, here, let me actually remove this. And let me just add, let me add a normal circle right here. You can see that here on a mesh circle, if I turn on the vertex normals right here, and I increase their size, you can see that right here. Why isn't it showing the vertex normals? All right, let me just do the face normals, I guess. Let me see. It should. Now it's working. What the heck? Oh, I guess you need to have some thickness to it. So right here, you can see, once again, these lines right here are the normals of these vertices. And the same thing happens with our curve. Again, the normal is the direction the vertex, edge, or face is pointing in. So right here on our geometry nodes, we're getting the normal information, or the information that our circle is pointing in. And now we're aligning the rotation of these Suzannes based off of that. And then you could change this radius, you could change the resolution, etc. Does anyone have any questions regarding that? My favorite mentor. What's up, Wisdom? Thank you, brother. I appreciate that. Does anyone have any questions about what I just went over? If you have a question on what something means or what it does. But good question there, Growl. All right. Does anyone have any other questions regarding anything in Blender? If you don't have any, why didn't it point out? The other circle was pointing out. Yeah, you can make it point out. You just got to adjust this. So here, if I change these to Z, actually not Z. If you adjust these, you can make it point out. And if it's not, for example, here, I can't get it to point out. You could just either rotate this in edit mode. So here, let me remove this. You could RZ 180, rotate this out, and now they're pointing outwards. Or you could just get a transform geometry after the object info and rotate these on the Z by 180, and they will point out. So just adjust the rotation of the actual mesh in edit mode, or just add a transform geometry and rotate them. You could also add, instead of a transform geometry, again, there's so many ways to do things. You could add a rotate Euler node. Rotate Euler right there, and drop this after. I guess this one is going to disappear. And you could rotate this. Again, many ways to do things. I would just, rotate this in edit mode, and you're good to go. All right. Good question. Does anyone have any other questions? And again, guys, the place to be is on Zoom. Okay, you are lagging on Instagram. Am I lagging? Thanks for letting me know, Ab. How badly am I lagging? Hopefully it's not too bad. Again, we're going to be no longer streaming on Zoom. We're going to be streaming with Discord here shortly. All right. I think I used a tilt for my chain I made in Pirate Render, so probably just another way to do it. You could use a tilt here as well. If you search for I forgot what it's called, but it's called a tilt curve, I think, or set curve tilt right here. You could just drop that in, and you could tilt your curve, as you can see right there. So yeah, you could tilt the curve. You could also set a curve normal, I think it's called. So set curve normal right here. And you could have it so it has minimum twist or the Z up. And then you could tilt it. And let me do it the other way. So again, you could do that in geometry nodes as well. You could tilt it or set the curve normal. What's your Discord ID? Wisdom says. The Discord is going to be live shortly. We are still setting it up, but probably by tomorrow we shall be live. But again, guys, the main site is blendermania3d.com. Discord is going to be integrated with blendermania3d.com. So if you just go to blendermania3d.com, the Discord will be posted there. But yeah, we are setting up the Discord, and it will be live shortly. Growl is setting up the Discord, I should say, because I haven't done much. All right. Great questions, Growl. Yeah, awesome questions. So does anyone have any other questions regarding this? He helped, LOL. Not really. Nah, I let Growl set it up and everything. He's doing an awesome job. By the way, Growl is an admin on the site. So if you guys have any questions, you could ask him too. All right. So with that, does anyone have any questions on this setup more, or does anyone have any other questions? Again, it could be questions about anything, guys. Don't be shy. If you think your question is stupid or silly or simple, I'm sure somebody else is thinking about it, and they're probably wondering it too. By the way, for anyone who's missing this, the recording will be on YouTube on Blender Mania. That is the YouTube channel for this community. All right. And by the way, guys, we do this every weeknight, and we're going to do a live tutorial on drivers and custom properties here shortly. But yeah, and then here, well, let me see. What else can we do with this? What else can we do with the array? Well, yeah, I mean, there's many things you could do. All right, let me get a new scene. Does anyone have any questions regarding anything in Blender? Hey, Games for Life, now's your time to learn. Is there a way to insert circulation faces on meshes with flat surface? Is Wait, what? Is there a way to insert circulation faces on meshes with? So, are you trying to insert a circle on a mesh? Yeah, you could use the you could use the Loop Tools add-on. So, Ab is asking, is there a way to insert circular faces on meshes? I believe that's your question. It was phrased a little strangely, so I'm a little confused. But yes, if you go to Edit, Preferences, and you enable the Loop Tools add-on, so right here, if I have this right here, I could go ahead and subdivide this so I have a little bit more geometry. And here, if I just select these faces here, so these faces, I could hit the I key and inset it. If I hit the N key, we could go to Edit, Loop Tools, and select Circle, and it will make it into a circle. Grouse says one of the essential add-ons people should have. Absolutely. That's okay. I'm learning. No questions so far. Hey, it's all good, man. I'm glad you're learning. So yeah, again, Loop Tools, enable Loop Tools, and select Circle. Another way to do it is to hit Alt-Shift-S, and this makes it to sphere, and then you can hit 1. However, as you can see, this isn't always the cleanest way. So Loop Tools, Circle works better. That's exactly what I wanted to know. Awesome, awesome. There's a bunch of other cool tools that you can use with the Loop Tools. For example, you could bridge stuff, and you could also flatten it. And for example, with the G stretch, I haven't seen that before. I don't know if that's new, but yeah, there's some really, really cool options with the Loop Tools. But yeah, if you want to make it circular, you could just do that. Again, select circle. And when you select circle in the bottom left, you have more options right here. So you could select, the angle and a bunch of other things as well. All right. Great question. And for example, if you want to bridge stuff, for example, if I select this, Shift D, duplicate it, and select both of these, right here, I could select bridge, and it's going to bridge those two faces together, as you could see. Or not those two faces, but those 4 faces, or 8 faces, I guess. So you could bridge stuff, and you could do a bunch of cool stuff with Loop Tools. I could then kind of like, select these. Dang it, it's not working. I'm trying to. All right, I guess I just got Alt Shift left click. Could go to Edge, Bridge Edge Loops, boom, and now I got this cool thing with some nice topology and loops around it. Again, feel free to mess with it. Great question, though. Great question. Once again, guys, we are live. This is a Blender Q&A and tutorial. Again, the recording will be live on YouTube on Blender Mania. All right, does anyone have any other questions? Again, it could be regarding anything. It could be regarding geometry nodes, shader nodes, modeling, texturing, whatever you want. Again, there's no stupid questions. Oh, yeah. On Instagram, it's definitely, well, I thought it was stuck back on the monkey array thing still. Jeez. All right. I got to kind of fix the Instagram, make sure it doesn't lag so much. All right. Again, does anyone have any questions regarding anything? Again, there are no stupid questions. And guys, we're going to do a live tutorial soon. We're going to be looking at drivers and custom properties, which is pretty sweet. It's going to be very useful. I don't know if people know. I don't know if you guys know about drivers. I'm sure some of you do. But drivers are really cool, and using it in conjunction with custom properties allows for you to do some pretty sweet stuff. And we're going to take a look at that. All right. Someone's... Yay, I'm getting some Kick spam messages. Hey, homie, I checked your videos. Seems like you are new on Kick and still not affiliate yet. I got a proposal for you by sharing your stream to Kick community. Yeah, I'm good, brother, but thank you. All right. Again, guys, you could ask any question regarding anything in Blender. And if no one has any questions, I'm going to get into a tutorial here regarding drivers and custom properties, which is going to be pretty cool. So if you want to follow along, just open up Blender and you'll be able to follow along. Again, this won't be too complex. It'll be kind of like an introduction to drivers and custom properties. If you don't know about them, very, very useful. So let's rock and roll. All right. So over here, how to delete the default cube, John Hubbard. Probably the most important question that was ever asked on any live. All right. So guys, he's asking how to delete the default cube. What you want to do, this is a very tricky process, guys. So first, you kind of want to scope out the situation. You know, you kind of want to go around, scope it out. This is kind of like, you know, the Crocodile Dundee type stuff. And then you want to slowly zoom in and go into edit mode and just select one vertex at a time and delete that single vertex. And then kind of like scope it out on the other side and then select the other one and delete it. And, you know, make sure the default cube doesn't notice. And then before you know it, you know, you got a plane and then boom, the default cube is basically gone. So that is how you delete a default cube, one vertex at a time. That's a great question, man. Oh crap. We still got the origin points. All right. We kind of messed up. All right. Then delete the origin point and then you're good. All right. Because the cube was still in the outliner technically. Yeah. So deleting the default cube, it's a tricky situation. At least that's how I do it. I don't know. Other people have different tactics, but I go the stealth route and just like one vertex at a time. How to add the cube back? Well, dang, man. Seriously? All right. To add the cube back, you got to go to Edit, Preferences, Extra Objects Add-on. Enable that. So enable the Extra Objects Add-on. Once it enables, for crying out loud. Why is it not enabling? Oh, there we go. It's crashing. So enable the Extra Objects Add-on. I don't know how many extra objects they've added to here. What is happening? 5 hours later. See, Ab, you've done it. Adding back the... Oh, my God. All right, there we go. Then with the extra objects add-on, you want to hit Shift-A. Again, the question is how to add the cube back. You can see right here we have single vertex. Add single vert. And then right here we have a single vertex. We could then, once I mute my phone, we could then extrude it. So EZ, extrude it up. Select the two edges, EX, extrude it that way. And then select the whole face, E, and extrude it back. And boom, you got the cube back. So great question. Can we get a procedural cloud? I did a procedural cloud yesterday. What you talking about? That was or not yesterday, the day before, with the procedural cloud and lightning. Or are you talking about something different? I made that tutorial for you. I made this for you. I hate Cube too. Cubes for life. Are you talking about different kind of procedural cloud, Ab? Because I did a procedural cloud in that tutorial. Or maybe you're talking about a different kind of cloud. I'm not sure. But yeah, great questions on the cube, guys. I could see everyone's getting their time's worth and value during this live. That's exactly what I want. Okay, never mind. Like just a quick one. Okay, sure. Noise and volume. Sure. Let's do it. So Ab's question, and then we'll get into the tutorial. So Ab's question is how to make a procedural cloud. And we could do this with geometry nodes, guys. I'll show you 2 different ways to do it. And then you could kind of combine both ways and or, you know, switch it up. Again, guys, I'm showing you the tools. There's about 20 different ways. I just made up that number. But there's a lot of different ways to do everything in Blender, all right? The way I'm showing you is not the only way. But here, let's go to geometry nodes, and I'm going to close the spreadsheet. Remind me the 2 add-ons you just implemented, please. So it was the loop tools add-on and the extra objects add-on. So extra objects and loop tools. All right, so guys, here with the default cube, we're going to add a new geometry nodes. Then we're going to add a mesh, so mesh to volume, and drop this in between. This is going to convert our mesh to volume. Wow, brilliant. As you would guess by the name of this. Now, here we have different things. We have the density. As you can see, this is how dense it is. And we have the voxel amount, as you can see right here. And we have, I actually forgot what the voxel amount does. I'm not going to lie. What does the voxel amount do again? I think it's basically like the resolution of it. I got to refresh my mind. It's been a while since I used the voxel. And then we have the interior bandwidth right here. So you can see what that does. Now, with this, we basically converted our mesh to a volume. Now, what I like to do is I want to right-click and subdivide this twice. And then I'm going to turn on proportional editing. And here, I'm going to change my proportional editing to random. Then I'm just going to grab some random vertices and randomize this so that it's a little bit more random, kind of like a cloud. It's just a happy accident, or is that what Bob Ross would say? I think so. Happy mistakes. So you can see we get a little bit more randomness. However, it's a little bit too jaggedy and not so fluffy. So what I like to do is then get a distribute points in volume right here. So distribute points in volume. And yeah, the voxel amount is basically like the resolution, kind of like the voxel size when you remesh. It's basically the resolution of your mesh to volume. It just came back to me. So right here, we're distributing points in volume. And you can see here, once again, we could change the density of how many points we have in that volume. Then we could get another node called points to volume. And this is going to change our points back to a volume. So basically, we converted our mesh to a volume. We distributed points in that volume, and then we turned those points back to a volume. And now you can see it's a little bit more fluffy. And then we could change this density here as we want, and kind of change the density here as well to kind of change how it looks. And of course, we could change the actual mesh itself. And this is really what's going to give it most of the shape. Pretty cool. Now, another cool node you could use instead is the volume cube. Now, the volume cube is cool because right here you can see that we got a cube, which we distorted, and we put that into the mesh. But this volume cube right here, as you can see, you're probably thinking, what the heck's the difference with taking a cube and turning it into a volume? Well, this right here has some fields, or it has a field, I guess, for the density. So this is the density right here. But a field means that we could plug in something such as a texture. So here I could put a noise texture, and now you can see that based on this texture, it will be less dense or more dense. Then right here, I could add, for example, a color ramp. You could also add a map range or a math node, it doesn't matter. And here I could change the density of this. And now you can see that we got some more kind of speckled steam or cloud type look right there. Pretty cool. Now, obviously with this, there's a lot that you could do. Instead of a noise texture, we could add a separate XYZ. And right here, let me Control T. Right here, let me go ahead. I think I'm thinking about the, this is not what I want to do. Maybe on the Z. Uh, all right, here we go. Let me put this to 1. And all right, this is not what I want to do. Not working how I want it to work. All right, I'm thinking more about, let me see. Let me mess with this quickly. There we go. All right. Let me get a color ramp. Again, guys, there's a lot you could do with the volume cube because this allows for you to, um, basically allows for you to have a field in here. All right, whatever. What I'm doing is not working. So let me just go back to this. So right here, you can see that we could do that. We could also add a map range to kind of control this. So right here, I could go ahead and increase these values. And then, of course, with this, you can see that it's still kind of a cube. Right here, we have the resolution for the X, Y, and Z. We also have the scale. So right here, we could change how big this cube or this volumetric is, as you can see right there. And of course, right here, you can see that it's definitely, it's a little bit too cube-like. So right here, we could add, for example, a set position node. I wonder if a set position actually works on the volume. I guess it doesn't. Interesting. All right, so here, since we can't change it like that, we could always add a volume to mesh right here, convert it to a mesh, and then here we could go ahead and, for example, we could make it more random by extruding it. So right here, we could extrude some random values or random faces. And let me put the resolution of this down a little bit because it's way too much. Maybe to like 10. And again, guys, there's a lot you could do with geometry nodes. I don't even know what I'm making at this point. But right here, we could extrude it. We could kind of set the position of this over here. The position, I could offset it with a noise texture right here. And I could drop a math node in between and kind of, let me actually add a for the offset, I'm actually going to add a random value, and I could offset this randomly on the X, Y, and Z, and then on the, on there, and then I could get some kind of weird cloud shape here. And again, I could reconvert this so I could get a mesh to volume and reconvert this back to a volume. Again, it all depends. There are different techniques to do different things. Like I said, this one right here, I like this one particularly because I'm able to actually like edit the mesh. This one is cool because you have this density factor in the volume cube, which allows for you to control the density, which is pretty sweet. But again, there are many different ways to go about it. You could even, for example, I could even get a grid, or actually, let's see, I could get a cube. So I could get a cube here. And then with this cube, I could increase the vertices here. And I could set the position of this cube to kind of randomize it. What the heck happened? I could randomize this with a noise texture like that. And let me increase the vertices of this to like 10 maybe, like so. And then I could instance on points. I could add an instance on points here, and the instance object could be this same cube right here. Actually, I don't think I want that. Let's see. I could add a cube by itself and scale these down. It's kind of like a Minecraft cloud or something. So right here, I could do that. And then I could rotate these randomly. Random rotation. What the heck? Random value. That's weird. That's not showing up. Let me just add it. Random value. And plug that in. I could just give these a random rotation all over like that. And then here, I could get a mesh to volume and just kind of change that to a volume. And now you can see that I got a different style of cube. I mean, not cube, of a mesh or a cloud. Now here, maybe instead of this original cube, I could plug in this cube that I distorted. And right here, I could increase the scale of this back to 1. And again, just get some different looking clouds. So again, guys, you could just add a bunch of random geometry basically with geometry nodes, and then you just need to add the mesh to volume, and you could get some pretty cool clouds. Again, there are so many different cloud styles that you can make. So great question. Hopefully that helps you out. All right. Awesome. Charge spec 2024 says. Yeah, it is pretty cool. I love using volumetric geometry nodes. So again, guys, there's many ways you could go about it. There's no right or wrong. It all depends the kind of style you want your cloud to look. So you can see here I got a little bit more of a square looking cloud. Here I got like a more kind of circular looking cloud. And here this one is like a mix in between. It's kind of circular, but the shape of it is more square-like, etc. And here, maybe instead of a cube, in the instance, I could add a icosphere instead. You know, make it a little bit more spherical. As you can see right here, we got a bunch of icospheres. Turn that into a volume, and boom, you got a cloud. All right, great question, Ab. All right. So with that, guys, we're going to get into the tutorial part. We are going to take a look at drivers and custom properties. Now that sounds complicated, but it's not. We're going to do the basics of it. So right here, I'm going to go ahead and create just a makeshift fan type thing. So if you want to follow along, get your default cube. Again, this is the live tutorial portion. If you want to follow along, open up Blender, guys. And as we go through this, if you have any questions, feel free to ask it. Don't be shy. Step right up and ask the question. Because if you're thinking it, somebody else is. So here, I'm just going to hit SY, scale this down. Again, I'm going to make a really low poly, crappy fan. So here I'm going to hit SX, scale this down. GZ, bring this up. And then in front view, I'm going to hit Shift D, right click. I'm going to change this to 3D cursor and hit the R key and rotate this like so. Then let me delete this. And before I duplicate it, change this to 3D cursor, A to select everything, Shift D, and then R right away, because then we could hit Shift R and it will repeat the last action. So just hit Shift R a bunch of times and it will repeat that last action of duplicating it and rotating it. So now we got some kind of weird fan or water wheel. Pretty cool. All right. So what are drivers? Well, a driver is basically a expression or a piece of code that allows for us to drive or influence a value. So for example, here, if I hit the N key, I have my transforms here, my location, rotation, and scale. And let's say I wanted to constantly rotate this on the y-axis, like so. Or I wanted to constantly move an object like so. Well, if I right click, for example, on the location and click add driver right here, actually, I don't want to do that. Excuse me. Let me take that back. We're adding a driver with a scripted expression. So right here, I'm not going to right click. I'm just going to click on the X. And here I'm going to type in hashtag. Now, hashtag basically means that it's a driver. When there's a hashtag, that's the sign that this is a driver. Again, a driver is basically an expression or a piece of code that drives something. In this case, this is going to drive the location. And if I type in frame and hit enter, you can see it becomes purple, and that means that it's a driver. And basically, this expression of hashtag frame means that on every frame, so whatever frame I'm on, it's going to add that number to here, or it's going to place that number here. So if I'm on frame 5, this will be a value of 5. If I'm on frame 20, this will be a value of 20. If I'm on frame 24, this will be a value of 24. So now when I play this, you can see that this is constantly going to move on the x-axis. Now, let's say it's moving too fast. Well, we could click here again, and in front of frame, we could put divided by or forward slash, and then put in any number you want. The higher the number, the slower it will be because it will be divided by a higher number. So if I put forward slash 20, you can see that here it's going to divide whatever frame we're on. So for example, frame 57, you can see it has this value. And that's because if we take a look at this, let me get my handy dandy calculator. This is like Blue's Clues. You can see that 57 divided by 20, which is what we put, is 2.85. So it's divided our frame by 20, and now it's slower. So we could do the same thing for the rotation. If I right-click this and select Delete Driver, I could then go to the Y rotation, and here I could click and put in hashtag frame forward slash or divided by 20. And now you can see it's rotating. How awesome is that? Very cool. Now, let's say you want it to rotate the other way, because sometimes that's an issue. Well, again, this is just a mathematical expression. So right here, right now, you can see that this number is a positive value. It's positive 20, positive 50, etc. So if we want it to rotate the other way, we need to have a negative value. So we could click here, and after the 20, we could type in asterisk or multiplied by, and then -1. Because again, anything times -1 is going to be the same number, but negative. So 20 times -1 is going to be -20. So now you can see that we have a negative number, and it's rotating the other way. Pretty cool. So let me go ahead and remove the negative here. So let me remove the multiplied by negative. And now you can see that we got that. Now, let's say that you want this to be rotated, but then you want it to stop at a certain point, or you just want a little bit more control. Well, that's where the custom properties come in. If we go to the object information right here, or the object data, you can see we have custom properties. And let me go ahead and toggle that down. We're going to click on New to add a new custom property. Right here, we have the name and the value for this custom property. If I click the gear icon, we could rename this property. So I'm going to rename it to wheel. I'm just going to rename it to wheel and click OK. Now you can see that this custom property named wheel only goes to a value of 1. It goes from 0 to 1. I kind of want it to go to like 100. So I'm going to click this gear icon again, and here I could change the minimum and maximum values. So I'm going to put the max to 100 and click OK. So now you can see I could go higher than 1. Brilliant. Now you're probably thinking, what the heck's the point of this? What do we do with it? Well, if we right-click our driver and select Edit Driver, you can see that right here we have our scripted expression, frame /20. Well, let's say we want it to be driven by this new custom property now instead. Well, we could add an input variable. What this means is that it's going to add a variable or an input that will basically vary this now. So we're going to add an input that's going to vary our driver right here. So I'm going to click this. And right here, we're going to leave it to single property. And the single property is going to be named VAR or variable. Under the property, you want to select your object that has the custom property, which in this case is this. So I'm going to right click, edit driver again. And right here, I'm going to select my object, which is the cube. Now for the path, you want the path, as you can see, you want the data path of this custom property. So on the custom property, we're going to right click it. And right here, we have copy data path. So I'm going to click that. Then I'm going to right click, go back to edit driver. And on the path, I'm going to hit Control V to paste it. And now we have that. So now if we play this, nothing has changed. And that's because we didn't actually technically change it yet. We basically set it up so that right here, we have a custom variable that's named VAR. So our custom variable is named VAR, as you can see right there. And it's being driven by this custom property. So now all we have to do is click Edit Driver. And right here, we have to actually use this custom variable. So right here, our expression frame/20. We could erase the /20. And instead, we could either put / or multiplied by, it doesn't matter. But I'm going to put frame multiplied by or asterisk. And then we want to put the name of our custom variable, which is named VAR. So frame times VAR, which is this right here. And again, this VAR is driven by the value that we have in the custom properties in the bottom right. So now it says frame times VAR. And now if I play this, you can see that it's based off of this value here. So if I increase this, it's going to be multiplied based off of this. If I put it to 0.2, or let me see, 0.01, you can see it's a lot slower because now it's being driven by this right here. Now, why does that matter? Why is that cooler? Well, because we can now animate or add keyframes for this property. So let's say I have it at 0.05, like that. Well, right here on frame 1, I could hover my mouse here and hit the I key, insert a keyframe. I could then go to frame 100 and insert a keyframe. And then let's say I wanted to slow down and stop. Well, on frame 120, I could put this to 0 and insert a keyframe. So now it's going to spin all the way to frame 100, and then it's going to slow down and stop. Well, that didn't really do what I wanted, as you can see right there. Technical difficulties. It spun the other way, so that is not really what I want. Let me see. All right, so I guess I will have to look into that a little bit more. But let's say instead of making it stop after a couple frames, let's say I put this right after frame 100. It's going to stop right after frame 100, as you can see right there. But of course, it jumps. So I'm actually going to have to look into it a little bit more because when I was messing with it, that issue didn't even come up. So, but let me see if I can't figure it out here quickly. Maybe, yeah, I would have to mess around with it a little bit more. But you can see that using custom properties, we're able to influence our drivers a lot more, which is really, really cool. So right here, we're able to, once again, use a custom property that's going to drive this driver. Now, right here, let me try. I'm sure there's another expression. I'm trying to think of it on the spot, but sometimes I need a little bit more time to think about it. Because right here, it basically spins back. It basically rewinds all of this right here, which is obviously not what I want. Yeah, I'll have to mess around with it. But those are custom properties, and again, you could use those to influence the drivers. Now, another way to use this is to add an object driver. So, for example, let me go ahead and here I'm going to right click and select Edit Driver. And right here, I'm going to go ahead and change this. I'm going to change this from scripted expression. Actually, I'm just going to leave it to scripted expression. I'm going to change this though from single property to transform channel right here. And for the transform channel, I'm going to add, let me delete these keyframes. Let me delete those. I'm going to add a empty right here. So let me add an empty and move this. Actually, I'm just going to leave it there for now. And if I right click, edit driver, right here, I could select that empty right here. And then right here, you can see I have the type X location. So now, and it still has the same VAR name. So now it's going to be driven based off of the location of this empty. As you can see, when I move this, it's going to drive this. So now instead of it being driven by a custom property, it's now being driven by an object right here. Now you could make it driven by the location of the object, or as you could see, the rotation. So for example, if I select rotation right here, when I rotate this empty, as you can see, if I rotate on the X, it will drive it. And once again, this is pretty cool because here, let me go back to X location. Here, once again, I could animate this empty, and move it like so. And you can see that here, we could go ahead and again, move this empty. So now here it's being animated based on the movement of this empty, which is pretty cool. So right here, let me go ahead and clear that. Let me check something too. And again, guys, you could do this for bones as well. You could have bone drivers. So something will drive a bone for animation, which is pretty sweet. By the way, does anyone have any questions about what I just went over? Minus the part that didn't work, because yes, I have to mess around with that and tweak it and figure it out. Guys, believe it or not, I know a lot about Blender, but yes, there's things that I don't know still and things that sometimes don't happen the way I want them to happen, which is totally fine. It's all about the learning process. But does anyone have any questions about what I just went over? Again, any questions on drivers or what I just showed? And right here, let me actually see. You can also change this from scripted expression to average value. And this way, it's not going to use a scripted expression. It's just going to use the, as you can see, it removes the scripted expression. And right here, we just have it based off of this right here. So it's going to move it based off of the X location of the empty, as you can see. So much to learn. Thanks, Wisdom says. Hey, man, your name says it all. Wisdom. I like it. Yeah, of course, man. And as you can see, you know, I gotta mess with this thing too. And because you could visually see the issue that was happening here when we have the empty. So for example, here, when I was trying to do the custom property, it was basically moving it this way. But then when the custom property was going back to 0, it's like the empty going this way. So it was spinning backwards, which is obviously not what I want. By the way, guys, another really cool thing to do, instead of using drivers, let me delete the driver. I right clicked and delete the driver. We could use we can use the cycles modifier. So for example, right here, if I go to the graph editor, right here, I could go ahead and just rotate this. So right here, let me actually, I don't like doing it that way because sometimes it just rotates back in on itself. So, but let me see what else. I'll show you guys one other cool thing and then we'll end off. Is there a way to make the wheel more symmetric? Yeah, I would. Well, what do you mean by symmetric? Isn't it symmetric right now? I mean, I did duplicate it. You could array it. So, I mean, it's pretty symmetrical right now, isn't it? Or is it not symmetrical? If you want to make the wheel symmetrical, yeah, you could use an array with a curve. Or you could use geometry nodes like I showed in the beginning. Right now, oh, yeah, you mean, yeah, because it's not symmetrical right now because it's a little off. Yeah, if you want to make the wheel symmetrical, again, that was just a quick example. I would just do it this way instead. So instead of doing that, I would just add so hit Shift A, add a curve circle. And then right here, we're just going to go, actually not a curved circle. I always mix it up. So right here, let's say we want to array this and make it symmetrical. I'm just going to scale it on the Y. And then in edit mode, I'm going to hit G and Y. Again, in edit mode, hit G and Y so that the origin point is there. And then I could just add an array modifier. I could increase the count. And I could turn off relative offset, turn on object offset, and then just add an empty. So empty, plain axes. And then I'm going to select the empty from here. And then I could just rotate this empty like that. Whoa. Let me hold down Shift because that was a lot of rotation. And now you can see that we have everything symmetrical. Like so. So again, just add whatever object. Make sure your origin point is in the middle. Move your object in edit mode. Add an array. Turn off relative offset. Turn on object offset. And then just rotate the empty in top view. If you rotate it in other views, you'll start to get weird stuff like that, which is still kind of cool. But just rotate it in the view where you want these to basically array from. You can see here, if I rotate it like that, I get that. If I rotate it in side view, I get that, etc. So hopefully that helps you out, Sam. So yeah, good question. Let me turn this down to like 12 maybe, or 5 or something. I guess a little more than that. There we go. And now you have it symmetrical. Of course, you can use geometry nodes as well, as I was showing in the beginning. He says, nice. Nice. Yeah, great question, by the way. And if you watch the recording, I showed how to do an array system like this with geometry nodes. So you could do the same thing with geometry nodes. Oh, Too Freely has a default cube as his profile picture. You guys know that that dude is serious about Blender. All right, guys. So with that, let me show you one last thing, and that is how to do a camera shake in Blender, which is pretty cool. So right here, I'm going to go into camera view. Whoops, that's not camera view. There we go. And let's say you want to do a camera shake. Well, right here, I'm just going to go ahead and here, let me go to like frame 20 or so. And here, I'm going to hit the I key to insert a keyframe. And then on frame 21, I'm going to rotate this and insert another keyframe right there. Just like that. So now I have this right here. Now I'm going to go to the graph editor. And right here in the object transform, I'm going to select the, not the location, the rotation, X, I guess it was the Y rotation. Let me see. Let me zoom in here. Let me hide all these for crying out loud. All right, I guess it was the Y rotation. Which rotation was it? I think it was the X. It should be the X. Right here, if I go to modifiers and add a noise modifier, I guess it was the Y, huh? Let me see. There we go. I didn't know why I thought it was the X. All right. On the Y, we could add a noise modifier. And you can see that now we have this camera shake right here. Now, obviously, you know, this is like someone spazzing out or something. So what we could do, again, guys, all I did was add 2 keyframes. And then here I have a kind of camera shake. But now let's say I want the camera shake to like kind of gradually fade out. Well, down here on the modifiers under the noise, I could enable restrict frame range and I could change the end. So I could put the end to like frame 20 and the start to whatever I want. So now you can see that we get this little camera shake. And maybe I want it even subtler. So maybe end frame 5. And now let me put the start frame to like 10. And then the end frame to 20. And there we go. So now you can see that we got this little camera shake right here. And it's a little too long, so I'm going to put it to like 17. And that's really cool. Now over here, we could change the scale. So we can make it more or less intense. Actually, the scale is going to basically stretch out the curve. So you can see that it has a bigger swing. Or we could increase or decrease the strength, which this is going to make it more or less intense, as you can see right there. So here, you could kind of combine this. Let's say you have the cube, and I did this in my AI animation course, but you have this that's flying above the camera. So right here, I could insert a keyframe here. And let's say on frame 20, this flies above the camera like that. So now, and obviously I want this to be seen by the camera. So right here, let me kind of bring it down. Again, guys, I'm doing this pretty fast. But you can see here as the cube whooshes by, you can see that we get a cool camera shake. And of course, like I said, you can feel free to tweak this. Let me see something. I don't even think I need this keyframe here. Yeah, you don't even need the first keyframe. You only need the second keyframe of when it's actually rotated. So right here, I could then mess around with this if I want. I could, change the scale. I could also rotate this on the X. So right here, I could hit R, X, and rotate this on the X as well. Let me go back to timeline. Timeline, go back to the keyframe. RX, rotate this a little on the X. Add a keyframe for that. Go to the graph editor. I could copy this modifier by clicking here. Copy, no, that's paste. Copy modifier. And I could go to the X graph and paste that modifier right there. So now we have it kind of shaking on the X as well. However, I don't really like it to shake on 2 axes because it, as you can see, it makes it look a little strange. Maybe I could tone that one down. And on this one, I could go ahead and increase the strength and etc. Maybe put the scale down so that it's like a little more jittery. So put the scale down. And yeah, that's not really the look I want. But you guys get it. You can mess around with it and get the kind of look you want. Maybe I'll put the scale down to like 0.9 because that's way too. But now you get like a camera shake animation. I don't like the X one. Just like that. Let me put that back. So does anyone have any questions on that? There we go. That's better. Does anyone have any questions on what I just showed? So there you go. Put the scale down a little bit. And again, you could make this, you could end it a little bit longer so that it shakes a little bit more, like so. Also, you can make it blend in and out. So for example, right here, when it finishes, I'd like for it to blend out because it kind of just abruptly stops, which I don't like. So right here, we have, let me go to the end right here. You can see we have this blend out. So if I increase this, you can see it's slowly transitioning the blending out right there. As you can see, let me zoom in a little further. So you can see at 0 and at 1, it's going to blend it out. And we could also blend it in. So now when I play this, you can see that it has a nice blend in and out. So very, very cool. All right, guys. Well, hey, I hope everyone got some value tonight. Again, we do this every weeknight. We'll do this again tomorrow. How to use wind, bro. I could go over that tomorrow, brother, for sure, because we've reached the top of the hour, but I'll show you quickly, and then we'll end off. So the wind Surya question is how to use wind. So it's pretty simple. All you want to do is hit Shift A and go to force field, and you could add wind right here. Now you can see that this has a certain direction. This is the direction of our wind. So I could hit RY90 and rotate it so that's going this way. Excuse me. Now all you need is something for the wind to push. So for example, we could add a rigid body. So here I'm just going to add a floor. And then I'm going to add a cube right here. So a cube. On the floor, I'm going to make this a rigid body. I'm going to make it a passive. And on the cube, I'm going to make it a rigid body active. So now when I play this, you can see the cube falls. Now, the wind is going to blow this, but the wind is way too, it's not strong enough. So on the wind, you can see we have strength right here. If I increase this to like 1,000, you can see that now our cube is being blown away by the wind. And if I duplicate, this cube a bunch of times, you can see it's going to be blown away by the wind, as you can see right there. You could also do this with some cloth. So for example, if I add a plane, move this over. If I make this a cloth physics, all I want to do is make sure that this has enough geometry. So I'm going to subdivide it a couple times, like so. And now if I play this, it's going to not blow away, as you can see. No. Let me go ahead and pin these vertices. So I'm going to Alt left click this and create a vertex group and assign it. And then in my cloth physics, under field, not under field weights, under shape, I'm going to select that pin group. So it's basically going to pin it. So now it pins it, and now you can see that the wind is blowing the cloth right there. Of course, I could right click, shade it smooth. So that's how you create wind, my friend. It's very easy. You just add a wind force field, and then you just need to have something that could actually be blown away by the wind, such as really any of these physics have the wind influencing it. So either a cloth, rigid body, soft body also works, I'm pretty sure. I don't know if the fluid works with the wind. I think it does. I've actually never tried it because the fluid sim in Blender is terrible. But there you go. Hopefully that helps you, my friend. Thanks a lot, man. Anytime. And if I went too fast, by the way, guys, if anyone missed any of this live Q&A and tutorial, the recording will be on Blender Mania on YouTube. So just look Blender Mania on YouTube, and the recording of this will be up there. Sam says, that's cool. Yeah, physics and cloth is really, really sweet in Blender. So right here, we could increase this, let's say 10,000, you know, really get it windy. And then actually, let me do this and then we'll end off. What's up, Suman? So right here, we're going to make it the super default cube. So right here, I'm just going to add a cube. This is going to be epic, guys. It's super cube, kind of like Captain Underpants, but cube. Let me delete this because he's flying. And now we got, we got a crash happening. What's happening? All right, let me pause this. I got the black screen of death. So right here, let me just makeshift my superhero cube. And there we go. And right here, let me scale this on the Y like that. There we go. And there we go. We got Super Cube, guys. All right, this is where we're going to end off. That is so satisfying. And then yeah, you could definitely animate this after. It'd be kind of fun. All right, guys. So there we go. We've created Super Cube. Let's at least make the cape red. And that is all for this live Q&A and tutorial. I hope everyone got value. Hope everyone had fun. Once again, BlenderMania3D.com is the official site for this community. Guys, we're about to launch a Discord here in a day or so. So make sure to go to BlenderMania3D.com. And with that, guys, thanks for the questions. Hope everyone got value. We'll be live again tomorrow. Same time, same place. So we'll see everyone tomorrow. Ciao for now. Au revoir. Again, guys, BlenderMania3D.com if you want more. See you guys. Have a great night, morning, whatever time it is where you are. See ya. Ciao.